Hello.
Yes, miss. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. What's going on with you? You have
Well,
any trick-or-treaters?
not on my side of the street. My
No?
neighbors
You
across
saw
the
some on
street.
the other?
Well, my neighbors across the street, there were a flurry of like a dozen little girls with umbrellas. Not all of them were using umbrellas, but they headed out on their side of the street. Probably be back here at some point. But I haven't seen a sign of anyone else, and I called my next-door neighbor, and she said that one of her sons still wants to go out.
Yeah.
But she thinks only the Hardy will be there, and she said some of her friends were talking about taking their kids to the mall, and she said she had never heard of that. I said, well,
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much what's going on.
Okay.
It's raining fairly steadily here. I assume you have not had any visitors?
Nope.
Okay. Well, you can try those fruit strips. They're good.
Well, I'll wait and see if anyone shows up.
So you haven't opened the box is what you're telling me?
I opened the box, yeah, so it's ready.
All right. So you're just going to use the box as the serving vehicle?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking.
Because I really doubt I'm going to get anybody.
Well, I'll come and trick-or-treat then.
Will you?
Yeah.
Will you give me? Will I get a trick?
Probably. You almost always do. That's what you complain about.
Even if I give you a treat, you'd still trick me?
Well, not trick you, but give you a trick. Yep.
All right.
It's coming down pretty steadily. I wouldn't go out in this.
No.
I mean, if I were a little kid, I might be disappointed, but I think I'd probably still stay home. I mean, the parents have already bought candy for other kids, so all they do is say, okay, they can't give to the other kid, they'll give to you.
Right.
I mean, hopefully people buy candy that they'd want their own kids to eat.
And,
I mean, that's why we got the what we did. I thought it was a good choice, a very good price considering. You buy a bunch of chocolate stuff, and then you have it around the house.
Yeah.
This stuff at least is, fairly healthy and, good to watch from the TV and so forth. And very portable. They don't melt. So you can take it to the movies, and a good price. So, and kids like that stuff, and they're colorful, so it's kind of a little more to it. Anyway, remember I told you I was going to call the woman in the Premier Banking Service at Harris. Hello? Hello?
Hello? Oh,
Where'd
you
you go?
disappeared there for a minute.
Your phone.
Oh, probably.
You can ask Scott about that too.
Yeah. Well, I talked to Peter and asked him what the extension was for the phones at Zocalo, and he said he didn't know, but that Scott and Lissy weren't there. He thought they had gone to Lissy's school or something.
Well, you mean, when you say the phones at Zocalo, you mean the phone that he took from his old house?
The Cisco phones. Well, the two that are there, the one in the kitchen and the one up on the,
Okay.
Anyway, so I said, well, when you see him, tell him to call me.
All right.
So, we'll see.
I think he actively doesn't want to give you that stuff. Probably Michael's involved in telling him, don't give your mother anything.
Well, that's what I will find out.
I mean, it's when there's as much money missing as we believe there is, something's going on. And, I mean, there's so many red flags there, not the least of which is the fact that the way he wrote off that Tundra on your tax return and the way he did it, which was entirely wrong. I mean, it very boneheaded. But regardless, as we said, there's Did you ever look for the last year's return, the 11 return?
No. I know it's here someplace.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't do us any good, knowing it's there somewhere. You were doing all that organizing. Why don't you try to find it?
I'll see what I can do.
All right, so you don't want anything to do with that anymore. You don't want me to be involved in that anymore.
No, I'll see what I can do. I finally sat down, put my feet up, and I really don't want to get up and start looking through stuff again.
You don't have to do it this minute, but, you know, it would have probably been more important to find that than to reorganize the pantry. I mean, doesn't it register with you that perhaps $400,000 of your money has been hidden away where you can't get it? That doesn't bother you? Money that could be used for retirement or any of a number of other purposes?
Yeah, it does bother me. It makes me want to throw up.
Well, when you're through throwing up, go find the tax return and get Scott to, you know, own up to some of this stuff. I mean, this really is one of those situations where if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. And I mean Scott. I mean, this is really pretty bad.
No, you mean me too.
No, I don't mean you two. You are not actively involved in doing this. You're just frightened. But, you know, you still need to do something to help yourself. I mean, you know, if knowing Scott, it is hidden either in states where it's hard to get any visibility, or it is offshore somewhere. You know, in some island where Scott came up with this great idea on how to hide money. But, you know, if it's in this country, it could be Wells Fargo, or he could decide, you know what, if I put it in a state that only has branches in, say, Montana, then it's very hard for anyone to have any access to it. You know, that's the one thing about a national bank that has offices all over the country, is that you can go in any office and you should be able to, with a subpoena, get access. But when it's out of state and they don't have any local branches, subpoena doesn't really work so well. So that's how you hide money. It happens every day. I mean, you know, the Deloitte Deloitte and Touche firm that I was with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a whole department, and its function was to track down these kinds of situations. But regardless, you know, you need to help things here. Those little girls, it was actually a mother who was driving along with them in an SUV, just sitting there with the windshield wipers going, you know, fast. And that's a kid just got off a bus. And sitting in the SUV, I guess that way the kids can always jump into the SUV if the rain gets worse. But it's not drizzling. It's raining fairly heavily. What about there?
Yeah, it is here too.
Oh. And when I saw the weather forecast, you know, from 1 o'clock, it looked like it was going to be pretty heavy all afternoon and early evening,
Mm-hmm.
you know, until after dark. And then it just has to dry up. And, you know, it's supposed to cool off a bunch and get windy. Mm-hmm. All right, so so Peter said he would tell Scott you wanted to talk to him.
Yeah.
Had you left him a voicemail message as well?
No.
All right. Well, this is one situation where you're probably better off leaving Peter on the edge of it.
Mhm.
Because we know that he doesn't want to be involved, and I think it causes him a lot of anxiety, right?
Yeah.
So, since Peter has been pretty cooperative lately, but you know, it's kind of ironic. Scott and Lissy get out of that house. They have everything stored away. They're living in your townhouse, you know, kind of with a minimalist footprint. And ironically, it allows him to be even more invisible than usual. Because he has a place, but it's not his place. It's not in his name. There's no lease. I mean, he is about as invisible as you can get right now.
Mhm.
And I guess they had quite a bit of snow up in northern Idaho and Montana, where they're going in a few weeks, or next week, whenever it's going to be. Yeah, school bus is going kind of fast. Now it looks like there's some kids from across other house next door across the street. They're going to go out. They have umbrellas. But so far it's been mostly girls of middle school age, you know, junior high school age. Interesting.
Sounds like the rain's picking up here.
Yeah, well, it's not slowing down.
Yeah.
And what is it? So it's after 4, and I haven't seen anyone here. So I have Milky Way bars and Reese's caramel peanut butter cups, whatever they are. So, anyway, aren't you glad I'm not there now?
Why?
Because I'm giving you a hard time about Scott.
Well, doesn't matter.
It needs to be addressed. You know, another thing too. I mean, you know, let's say that Michael serves you with divorce papers. You go in the court, or even in a deposition, and his lawyer says, "Well, Mrs. Wolf, didn't it occur to you that you should be more involved in these things, or didn't it occur to you that you should have, you know, a chance to look at the tax return? Why didn't you ask for it?" I mean, they're going to turn around and use it against you. I mean, you can say, well, you asked for it and he didn't give it to you until after the filing date. But, I mean, I can tell you that any halfway decent lawyer is going to use what Michael has done against you. And you can say as much as you want, well, I kept asking and no one would give it to you. Well, did you ask Michael? No. So you only asked Scott? Yes. Well, why didn't you ask him more times? Or why didn't you ask Michael? Didn't you think that it was important enough to have a copy of this that you could ask Michael or ask Scott more times? Don't you think you were being irresponsible, Mrs. Wolf?